If you're not familiar, Open Hardware Summit happened recently in at MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and they had a really incredible badge provided by Osh Park. Check it out, classic Osh Park purple, and it's gorgeous, and it has a sweet little e-paper thing where you can put your name on. There's a bunch of other little benefits that it has as well, and abilities. Let me see if I can find some, well anyway, the batteries only really do much if you actually want to change what's on the paper, though it has a few other little tricks up its sleeve, but you can find out more about that on our blog, blog.hackster.io. What I want to talk to you today is how you can give it new life, basically. You can update this badge and connect to it with a Linux computer if you build just a little special jumper that allows you to talk to it over FTDI. What is FTDI? It's another protocol that you can get a special cable to talk to it over USB. Here it is. So here I have an FTDI to USB adapter cable. If you've ever worked with ESP8266s, you've probably seen this, as well as some Seed Grove kits and other things. So this one actually comes from a Seed Grove kit. It converts down to 3.3 volts. USB talks to your computer, and then this side has like TX, RX, ground voltage, and a couple of other connections that I forget right now, but we'll get to that in a second. So basically, in order to reprogram this thing, you have to build a little jig to talk to the connector here. And then you can do that basically with one of the little add-on prototyping boards like Drew Festini from Oshpark did. And he's also now created a dedicated reprogrammer board to adapt it for you. And let's take a look at those, because it's pretty cool. I love the idea that this badge can not only be used at the conference, but also live on beyond it. That's also like the deal with this Twilio Signal Conference badge, which is a whole computer on it, which we'll get to as well later. So if you read our blog, you might have already seen this article by Alistair. It came out a few days ago, and it's about the OHS badge and how you can get started with it. Based on an article by Drew, where it shows, this entire tutorial. So here at the top is your FTDI cable that connects it to your computer's USB, and then you have a button and a little header that plugs into the badge like you saw before, and a little switch. And the switch, like with programming in ESP8266, basically sets it into programming mode, and then you have a reset button, as far as I can tell. But we're going to build it, because that's fun, and I have all the components here. It reminds me, actually, I built a few jigs for programming the ESP8266 module a while back, and it was a lot of fun, like trying to get it to be beautiful and functional and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited to build this one. Although, there's one special thing about this, which is that it requires a Linux computer to do the actual programming part. So what we're going to do today is we're going to build the physical programmer, and then another time we are going to do this whole thingy, which is what allows you to run the script that builds the new custom firmware. So what I actually want to do is then use this, which is my Raspberry Pi based Twilio Signal badge, which has a tiny touch screen on it, which is ridiculous. Use this as the base device to reprogram that, assuming it has enough like processing power, which I think the Raspberry Pi Zero W should, because it is a whole computer and it doesn't have to do much except for go over the command line and like do a little bit of, of visual stuff, but I could also SSH into it. Anyway, so that'll be part 2, is going to be seeing if we can program it via the REPL, or talk to it from the Signal badge with the Pi Zero W. For now, again, we're just going to build it. But if you're interested, you can just go to oshwabadge2018.github.io, and that is where you find this beautiful building and flashing and etc. setup guide. You can also go to blog.oshpark.com, which is where the article came out on October 5th about building this jig. And then there's an updated version where instead of building this whole thing with a proto board, you can actually order a much nicer one that looks like this, where you plug in the FTDI cable at the top, and it all is built into one beautiful little PCB, so you don't have to route wires everywhere. And you can get that on OshPark now, so much easier, but possibly less cool. I don't know. There's also a page for the badge on Hackday, and you can also follow OshPark on Instagram to see more cool stuff like this. They post a ton of really cool stuff. I love it. So what we're going to do right now is go to the OshPark blog, and I'm going to try to put this together. So let's fire up the soldering iron, because everyone loves live soldering, including me. Even when it goes wrong, it's still fun. Gonna find my third hand here. Got my brass coil, got my soldering iron, got all my little like cutting implements and stuff. And I do want to find a couple of batteries, because I think that even if I can't reprogram it, I might be able to see some response from it over on my terminal on my Mac, which can't reprogram it because, I mean, if I found substitutes for all the tools that they have on there, it might work. But I'm assuming the script is Linux specific, and I could edit the script as well, but I'm not that confident in my software abilities. So we're gonna go with this. And I think it'd be more fun to like program a badge from a badge anyway. All right, so I'm gonna go grab a couple batteries. I'll be right back. And by the way, if you see me at a conference that has badges, I probably won't actually be wearing many of them, if any at all, because they're very heavy these days. Like, the cooler they get, they're still like kind of real heavy. So I'm actually not going to attach this right now because, or put in the batteries, because I'm going to be soldering to it. Actually, how are you supposed to attach that? I guess you just solder from the top. Fun! Alright. Huh. Okay, cool. Let's get this up closer to the camera with my little heat shrunk jaws there, and adjust the focus while the soldering iron heats up. Oh, so sharp and pretty. Does it get sharper and prettier? Not really. Okay, cool. And I think we should be close on the heat now. So also at OshPark we got a couple of different SAOs for shitty add-ons. The shitty add-on protocol created by Brian Benchoff. So we've got Drew's business card here. We've got this beautiful one that I actually haven't assembled yet. I have a half-height version of this as well. It's very gorgeous looking. What does it say? Resistor, designed by Andrew Soa, made by OshPark for OHS 2018. And then it has an address, github.com/oshpark/OHS18 add-on. I'll assemble that at some point, but what I'm really after in here is the shitty add-on proto badge, or badge prototyping board. Super cool. So, and I think this doesn't even, and like any generic proto board would work here. This is just being used as a regular proto board, so don't worry if you don't have one of these. Alright, let's see if this is gonna work right now. Yeah, I probably want to put some amount of distance in there. Okay, what I'm gonna do is get a bunch of solder on my iron here, and I'm gonna tack solder one of the pins so that they're all kind of raised up. Come on. Come on, heat up. Doesn't really want to, but that's close enough. There we go. I'm melting the header a little bit. I probably could have, ooh, tack soldered this a little higher, but I didn't, so here we go. Yikes! It's a little heavy for my little jaws here. Get a little better angle. Alright. Cool. Oh no, it needs more altitude for sure. It's a little smelly, but it'll work. Alright, trying to do this without killing the e-paper screen. I love e-ink. I love it so much. I just wish that it had a faster refresh rate right now, because I think that it would be perfect for everything. I mean, not everything. I wouldn't be able to edit a video on it, but you know. Basically, I want all my writing tools, and I want e-ink wallpaper and stuff. It'd be so good. Like, if I go into a... No, I'm not gonna make that weird joke. But I would love to wake up to a future where that's just ubiquitous technology. Okay. Cool. Go in there. Alright. That should be decently well connected. I don't think I destroyed anything else in the process. Yay! Okay. That was the hard part. The rest of it is going to be, I think, a little bit tedious, but not too bad. I need to tighten this little jaw guy on here, because he is just not staying in put. There we go. Much better. Alright. Oh, that's way better. Oh, my life is going to be so easy. Alright. So what do we do now? I'm going to pull up the page again. This is the Osh Park blog page that I'm working from. And it's linked from the Hackster article. So there's a fritzing diagram included of how to solder this J1 adapter board onto a perf board. Alright. So it starts by adding these jumpers in the middle. And I'm going to orient mine the same way that he did, because I think that'll make my life easier. So with that to the left, we're going to do this. There we are. And again, I'm going to tack solder one pin. The one that's furthest away from my fingers underneath. I could just put this on the table, flip it over, and solder it that way, but I'm not gonna. Because I want to show you everything that happens. You know that song about, like, I don't want to miss a thing? I don't want you to miss a thing about soldering this board onto these jumper thingies. So romantic. Hey! I'm pretty sure that, like, all romance songs are just about people soldering stuff, right? Yeah? Yeah? If I were good at jokes, I could come up with another example right away. Oh, you left! No, I didn't let the previous one cool before I tried fixing up the first one. Okay. Lesson learned. Let's put this back on here. Ooh, this might be a bit of a pain. So actually I will, I think, turn this upside down now. Stand the little header up on the table. Put this on top. Line it up. It's kind of hard to see under there. Okay, I'm doing this in a really janky way. Kind of glad you can't see what I'm doing. Ha! Great. Okay. There we go. It's still kind of low contrast and hard to see what's going on here, but trust me, it'll be awesome in a minute. Oh, you know what? I think I rotated them 90 degrees, which is going to mean that I have to do a little bit more thinking. Which is a little troublesome. I often do these videos at the end of the day because I've spent the day doing like emails and stuff. You may think that my life is all like super glamorous, like 3D printing and soldering stuff and like unboxing things, just like it's Christmas every day. That would be great. I spend most of the time doing like super clerical stuff, and so this is sort of the fun close to the day. And so I hope you forgive me if I do something weird and spacey like that. So now we have our headers rotated 90 degrees. That's fine. We'll live. I'll just rotate the whole thing because, so let's see. So now the FTDI cable is going to be in the bottom, I think. Yeah, cool. We'll just rotate everything. It's fine. Everything's fine. So I need a 6. I have this huge box of headers, and it comes in really handy for stuff like this. But sometimes they are the wrong distance apart. Now here we go. Okay. I think these ones will work for my FTDI cable. And that's correct. Fantastic. So actually, these ones, they're like square ones. Oh, here we go. Like so, you can just sort of snap. And that makes it really easy. The other ones, the female ones, are actually much harder to get apart, which can be a pain. So I'm gonna stick these in here. Oh, it doesn't center. No! Ah, it won't be as pretty. Oh well. So now I actually have to solder this from the other side. What you can do with these is you can stick them in a breadboard so that you make sure that they go straight up and down. But for something like this, it doesn't matter whether or not it's like exactly straight up and down. So I'm just gonna do it by hand. Freehand. It's like freestyle soldering. I'm gonna try and keep it vaguely straight, but so I'm tack soldering one pin at the end, super messily. But it worked. I'll come back and clean that up in a minute. There we go. Okay. So that's it, sort of the base. Yeah. And then on the right, we're gonna have a switch. I'll flip this over again. Trying to control these reflections. There we go. One easy way to tack solder stuff is to take your solder and sort of put a little hook in the end of it, like this. And then you just bring your circuit underneath. And that kind of holds the solder in place. And then you bring your iron in, and you sort of move it all to the solder. And if you've done a better job than I have here, usually it's easier if you have like a shorter lengths of solder. But that makes it really easy to do one-handed soldering. Then you can finish it up with both hands. Cool. And I'm going to clip those off because it's going to go on top of the badge. ideally, if you're doing this, you would be using goggles to make sure nothing goes in your eyes. I just cover it with my hands. And finally, we have our button. Okay, so I established a minute ago that my button has opposite legs connected and adjacent legs not connected, and it looks like it's the same in this diagram. So if you look at this button, aka tactile switch, aka momentary switch or whatever, you see how only 2 of the sides have legs on them, even though there are 4 legs? There's 4 of them, but they're arranged in pairs. So in this case, these 2 are connected all the time, and these 2 are connected all the time, but they're not connected to their siblings, their adjacent pins, and then when you push the button, those 2 are connected. But these 2 are still connected, so basically there's like a solid connection between these 2, and then these 2 are connected when the button is pushed. So the nice thing is that this diagram seems to have the same thing going on. So it gets put sort of like in the same orientation as that. Okay. And it's pretty easy. I could have given myself more space here, for sure, but I didn't. One thing that can make this easier is either you mash the legs inwards or you do that and you use a little pliers to kind of flatten them out. I just put the leg and the end of the pliers and squeeze it so that it stops being so crooked. And that really helps with getting it into a breadboard or proto board or whatever. Although, you know, if you have a circuit, having it be a little bit bent by default is really nice because then it will sort of grab on and stay in place. Roar. Ooh, this might not be the perfect size for this. Maybe that's why it's giving me issues. Come on, we can do it. We can do it. We will do it. Roar. There we go. I mean, that's close enough. All right. This is already holding itself in, so I'm just going to solder it on. There we go. Oh, fancy that. You can see my face and also the camera mount, whatever. All right. All right, cool. So now we're going to add some little wires to connect some stuff. I happen to have this 4-color wire here with me, which will be very nice with making this whole thing intelligible. Let's see, we are going to have a bunch of little ground connections, which I might make a different color because I have a bunch of hookup wire. No, we'll stick with black. Okay. So we've got TX and RX connections. And we've got programming mode switch, which connects to ground and IO0. And then ground on the programming connector, of course, connects to ground on FTDI cable. And then you have EN connecting to ground through the button, which pushes to reset. Okay, cool. Not that we have any of those labels on this proto board because that's what its deal is. I'm going to put the wiring on the bottom because that's where this plastic standoff is, and it'll kind of hide it from the view of the user. I just remember, okay, button's over here, switch is over here, FTDI is over here, and I'm going to end up putting it this way, which means ground is going to be on my right. So when I'm reading this, the fritzing diagram, that means I'm going to be looking at it backwards because I'm looking at it upside down. Okay, so switch, button, FTDI. Okay, cool. So let's strip these. Got a bunch of grounds. Eat. And we're going to connect to IO0. I can probably just use like, you know what, I'm going to assign both white and black to be ground. and thereby lose all the advantage that I gained from having multiple colors. But I don't care because that would be otherwise pretty wasteful of wire. I don't need a lot here. They're all like really short runs. Doop de doop de doop. I'll use red for the RX and TX, and then green for the other ones, because why not? It'd be really cool if wire had like elemental properties that you had to match with what you were doing with it, like Pokemon or whatever, but that's not the case, so doesn't matter what I actually put where. So let's see. One side of the button gets connected to the EN pin next to it. I'm going to make this wire even shorter because I can. All right. And actually, I'm going to do it like this. Because it doesn't matter, like the button is non-polar, right? And it'll be easier for me with to work with a slightly longer wire this way. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Wow, it really wants to be short, huh? All right, I'm going to tin the ends of this. Again, I'm just standing the solder up on its own so that I can sort of bring my piece of wire and the soldering iron to it. I'm being very careful to hold the wire by its insulation here because the copper is going to get hot. And even so, I kind of got myself a little bit there. It's very small. Also, I may or may not have grime under my fingernails because, here we go, because we did like a team building exercise yesterday where we, I mean literally exercise, where we helped Habitat for Humanity build a house all day, and that was really fun. But also I feel like my fingernails are going to be grimy for about 80 years. I would love to do that more though. Okay. And let's actually tin these pins. Get on there. Get. Okay, but not enough that they won't go into the PCB. I'm also going to tin the two next to the FTDI cable. And the opposite middle pin. Cool. That's fine. It'll be fine. Alright, little piece of wire, come back. Here you go. There we go. There's a very rambunctious conversation going on in the room next to here. There's a lot of like little wire wrestling that happens. I'm actually going to leave this one like this because I can connect the other ones at sort of ground level underneath it. And then that'll make it prettier and like more low profile. Oh yeah, this connects to ground, so we get to use a black one. Cool. So this one is going to go over here. And I think that this whole row is connected to each other actually, which means that I could just use that as a bus. Ooh, yeah, it is cool. I mean, I'm not using the ground. Okay, you know what? I'm really glad that we're using a shitty add-on proto board for this because I'm not using the ground row as the ground bus. I'm just using this terrible thing here. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna connect, where did my wire go? Here we are. I'm gonna connect this other button pin to the end pin here in the ground row, and then I'm gonna connect that there so that ground is connected to the ground row. And then I'm going to connect the other ground connections to that ground row as well. Yeah! All right. Doop de doop. I love this stuff though, because it's like it's like a physical tactile puzzle. And it's beautiful in its own way. You may or may not actually believe that. Like that this end product is gonna be beautiful. But I think they're all beautiful. Okay. So what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna bend it into a little L shape and stick it down, or up rather, through this hole, and then bend it around so that it goes to this button pin. Cool. Oh, it's even still a little bit too long. Well, not to worry, I'm just gonna mess with it. So let's order of operations this a little bit, and I'm going to glob some solder across from here to here. Just put a big mighty glob. Oh, I mean, the solder mask is doing its job and keeping me from doing this, which is kind of annoying. Ah! Okay, fine. I'll put like an actual little piece of wire across there. I can just use one of my cut-off header legs from before. Ha! Where's my tweezers? Here we go. If you like small, awesome electronics hacks, you should definitely follow Zach Frieden and Mohit Boite. I think that's how you say his name. They are both really awesome engineers. Okay, cool. So now I can bend this one on top of that glob, maybe. And bend it around so I don't have to chop it again. Ha! Yes, good. Because nobody's ever going to see the bottom of this thing, right? Okay, cool. So that's connected now. I've run the ground wire underneath this red one to that button pin. I'm going to put this red one over the top of that one. This is ridiculous. And just sort of fingernail it down onto that other one. It doesn't have to be super duper close or precise. Whee, there we go. Solder those together. That's 2 of our pins done, and I've connected the ground pin on the FTDI cable to a little bus, so that'll make all of our like 4 total ground connections. 3 ground connections easier. Oh, there is a ground pin connection also. Well, okay, we'll get to that eventually. So button, yes. Just so I remind myself. Okay, yeah, this is the same orientation, but backwards. Ooh, yeah, okay. Good. Lots of like spatial flipping going on here. All right, so now we're going to do the switch because that'll be easy. Also, so the part of the switch, that leg, yeah. Switches are also basically, I would call them non-polar because, you know, basically in this case with a switch like this, I'm basically connecting and disconnecting something. And that's really easy to do with this type of switch because either the switch is moved to this side and these 2 legs are connected, or it's moved to that side and those 2 legs are connected. And either way, the other 2 legs are not connected to each other. So, if that doesn't make any sense, look up my recent set of videos where I talked about LEDs, and there's a whole special video about switches and buttons, which is really fun. So I'm going to use the middle switch pin as ground, I think, because again, that gives me a little bit more, like I'm going to be working with slightly longer lengths of wire that way. And I want to stay in my comfort zone. Now that I have the tweezers out, I can use those instead of my clippers, which, you know, in a pinch, in a pinch, your clippers can work as tweezers if you just hold them really lightly, but obviously it's suboptimal. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm connecting this guy to that guy, and we're gonna just bend it around so it's easier. Okay, cool. Middle pin, ooh. And the other thing about using clippers as your tweezers is that if you're not using silicone wire, which I am not, or which I am not using it, then it's possible you might cut through the insulation because it softens as it gets heated up, but whatever. That's a pretty rare thing to actually deal with. Okay, cool. So now the middle pin is going to get connected to my little ground bus there. That's a really short run. Cool. Again, I'm going to bend it into kind of a little L shape and stick it into there. And I've got this guy, so I'll just go here. And go here. And I haven't actually soldered either of the other ground connections into the bus yet, as you might have noticed. Ah! Hey! Stay there. Well, it has definitely noticed because it's wiggling all over the place. Stop it. Okay, I'll just solder those now. There we go. Nice. Okay, so that's a bunch of our connections done. Time to do the TX and RX things. And then we'll do the final ground cable. Again, I'm soldering these like way down at the bottom of the header pins because that's going to have to go into the badge. TX and RX. Okay, so the one closer to the ground end is TX. And the other one is RX. I don't actually have to know that, do I? These are going to be really short little wires. I'll use green for these ones because why not? You can also get little multi-packs of breadboard wires, which can be really nice in this kind of situation. I think mine are at home, which makes me sad. I could even just strip all the insulation off of these and then I wouldn't have to worry about any of this, but like it would make it a lot easier. So the first one is 3 down from the ground cable. All right. Tinning it with my little standing up solder trick. So that's 1, 2, 3. Goes there. And there. I'll put it on the outside actually if I can. See, even just from gripping it with the tweezers, that low quality insulation on the wire has been worn through a little bit. I'm gonna cut that even a little shorter, in fact. This is very meditative and kind of nice, like doing little small soldering jobs like this. Cool. Awesome. Now that's connected. So again, here's the ground pin, and then you count down 1, 2, 3, and that's that connection there. Then the next one gets hooked up to the one just next to it. Tinning the wire. Oh, I dropped it. Oh no, it was so tiny. Aha. So if you're sitting down and soldering, it's actually really great to wear like a skirt or an apron or some kind of or a kilt or whatever is going to help you catch stuff that falls off the table. It's a really big advantage if you're working with teeny tiny resistors or whatever. I used to actually work doing surface mount soldering in tech shop for a maker company. Oh, I attached that to the wrong pin. No! Maybe I'll just rip this insulation off of there because that's getting gross. No, okay, it's fine. Whatever. So I have to move this one over by 1 pin in order to make it be happy with me. Let go! Let go. You're not where you are meant to be. You must find your true destiny in the next pin over. There we go. Alright. That insulation is a nightmare. But I'm going to leave it be because it's pretty well connected. I don't want to mess with it at this point. Well, wait, no. I do have to rip that off of there. It's just going to bother me. There we go. Ah! It's like taking off a band-aid. Let's get this other one off too. I'm just like on a trail of destruction now. It feels really good. See, I'm just like yanking that off of there with the tweezers. Come off. There we go. I think we all feel better now. Oh, there's some more. It's just like when you finish a project, you know, and if it has a bunch of janky insulation hanging off of it, that's no good for anyone. Hey! Come here. Ha! Gotta fix the focus again. It's hard, like, with a third hand to keep it always sort of in focus. There we go. Isn't that nice? Close enough. So now we have one more ground connection to make. I've only got, I've got 3 connections to ground so far. That's the FTDI one, and the switch and the button for programming mode and reset. And then also, I've done the RX and TX pins, and now I finally just need to do the final ground connection. And I'm going to visually inspect these to make sure that they're like, visually inspect. I'm going to look at them to make sure that everything is connected nicely. I'm not really happy with this connection, how it goes onto the pin there. Okay, it was just a little spiky. But there's no actual bridging there, so even though it looks a little gross, it's fine. And something like this is not gonna, like, arc. So the ground pin is the one next to the switch. Okay. So that's gonna be this guy. And that's gonna get connected to ground, which is perfect. We'll see if I can actually fit this onto the badge. Cool. Things are looking good so far. I'm going to bend this down into an L shape, stick it into the end there. Do you see what I mean with the L shape? It's like a little hook, goes down into the board, helps it stay in place, and then it just gently intersects with this pin here. I'm going to push this other one down so I can kind of mash this one on top. Maybe I should have come around from another direction. I think it'll be fine though. We'll see. I can always reconfigure if it's terrible. There's like a part 2 coming where we do the programming, so. Another thing I could have done is like used really long headers or managed to come through from the other side. I may need to make sure that the solder globs stay at the bottom of the pins so that they will go into the socket on the badge. So I'm removing a little bit of solder and sort of pushing everything down. Cool, now solder the other end. And once this is done, ideally, I'll just be able to plug this into my Mac and see some kind of a response on the terminal. Even though I won't be able to redo the firmware or anything, it would be like really comforting to be able to see something from it. All right, so I'm going to quickly just review this from the top side so that I can, again, that's this page. I'm looking at the circuit diagram on blog.oshpark.com from October 5th, this article. And, oh, Python fun. I love Python fun. And again, if you don't want to solder this whole ridiculous thing, you can go get the PCB. But I'm gonna check out this and make sure that I've done it right. So you can follow along if you like. We've got the switch on the right side, we've got the FTDI cable on the top, we've got the button on the left, and we've got the little bootloader connector in the middle. So on the far left we have the ground pin, which connects to one pin of the switch, the middle pin of the switch, the one pin of the button, and the bottom bootloader pin that's close to the switch. Let's see. Far left is ground. Yep. That's this guy, and it connects to the middle of the switch, which is this guy. It connects to one leg of the button, which is this guy. And it connects to the bottom pin here. Oh no, yeah, this guy. This black wire that kind of snakes over the other one. Now let me double check that there's no shorting there. There is no shorting there. It is really ugly though. It's really ugly. There's no shorting. It's fine. Wow, that is super ugly. I'm even going to clear a little bit of debris out there just to make sure it doesn't short. Yikes. Again, you know, I haven't built this before. Could be a lot prettier. I'm going to jam my tweezers in between those two wires just to make sure there's a solid separation. Cool. There's not a lot of vertical space we're working with here, so we kind of got to make do. Push that red one down. All right, ground wires have been checked. That's good. TX and RX go from the third pin over from ground, and they connect to their nearest pins on the 6-pin header. So 3 over from ground, that makes it, here's ground, so 1, 2, or no, here's ground, so 1, 2, 3, yep, connects and connects. Is that? It's a little ugly, but it works. So ugly. I could adjust that a little bit. I mean, it's a good connection. It is ugly. I don't think I care. All right. Oh, I've got 15 minutes before I have to meet my friend. This is the glamorous life. And then finally, we have the switch and button signal connections. So, one leg of the switch is connected to the middle that's closest to it, and one leg of the button is connected to the middle pin that's closest to it. Gorgeous! Okay. Okay, super lightning mode. Let's do this. Okay, so the FTDI cable goes towards the bottom of the badge. It does go in. I don't know if all those connections are solid though, because the header is a little loose. But presumably if I put tension on it, like so, then the pins will all make a good contact. See, this should be a little bit harder to push in here, honestly. But, what I could also do is just remove the headers from this board. Not a huge fan of that. Now I'm gonna connect the FTDI header. I'm gonna do a little so I'm looking back at the article and figuring out dev TTY USB 0 is what it shows up as on our Linux machine. So it's going to be probably... Okay. Let me pull up this terminal window that I'm using for you. Basically, I've done a little search on dev ports that have this TTY format. And I'm going to see if a new one shows up under here when I plug it in. Here's hoping! And if so, then I'm going to run a little screen session on it. This is not a very stable connection though, so let's try running this command again while holding this kind of in place with my fingers and see if anything new has come up. Oh, there is! Yay! Cool! Okay, so if I do a screen session on it, come on. Maybe there's a special baud rate I'm supposed to be using. That doesn't like me at all. I'm gonna try that once again. LSDev TTY star. Still got that USB serial port. Could not find it. Ah, dang. Oh, I probably have to turn it on. Ha! Forgot about the batteries. Okay, where'd you go? Here we are. It still may not work, but at least it'll, you know, not work in a different way. My face appears to be frozen. Okay, so I do have a response there. Okay, again, FTDI thing goes towards the bottom of the badge. Okay, plug it in. Gonna switch windows here. Run that LS thing again. Grab the USB serial. Although, you know, if it showed up, well, we'll see. Okay, dang. Okay. Well, presumably this is some, like, software thing that I'm messing up. It seems that the connection is solid at least. So, because when I unplug it, it's not there anymore. Wait. It is. Okay, that's strange. Maybe there's something else that started showing up in between when I ran this as a test before and now. Anyway, as I said, this is some kind of weird software thing that I probably need to work out. And it's probably something that I did wrong regarding it not having a solid connection. But we're going to come back to this and try to program it with a Raspberry Pi next time that is connected to another badge. I'm hoping that my computer camera will come back by then, because that has decided to die. See if I can reload that real quick. Nope. Alright, anyway, everything's falling apart. I'm out of time. We will see you next time. I'm going to try to program this badge with another badge. It'll be really exciting and fun, I hope. Anyway, see you soon!